I want to do an intro about the Los Angeles Kings for our 10-minute preview, but I can't do it without first feasting your eyes upon this LA Kings redesigned jersey. That's Quentin Byfield. My God, did they do a good job.
They might win an extra 10 games on that.
That's such a great jersey, such a great redesign.
Does it change your opinion that it looks like the Chevrolet logo?
I mean, it does.
I mean,
look like the Chevrolet logo.
Yeah, but it's looked that way since the 90s.
Yeah.
Like,
What came first?
Chevrolet. Chevrolet. Chevrolet for sure. Yeah.
No, but like the Chevrolet logo. I know Chevrolet came first.
When did I'll Google.
When did they make the
launched
logo?
the same day.
Oh.
It was wild.
It was one guy, and he submitted both designs for both projects, and he's like, you know what? I forgot to do one. He just copied the other.
Last
minute.
Yeah, the
Chevron?
What do you mean you can't tell them apart? It
the
says
Chevy
King.
bow tie emblem was introduced in 1913.
Oh, wow.
Co-founder of the Chevrolet company, Will C. Durant, during a visit to
Durant?
Paris, was struck by the mesmerizing design of a piece of hotel wallpaper, and that's where he got the idea. So there you go.
Hotel wallpaper.
Kevin
Kevin Durant. Wow.
Now that I don't think is where the LA Kings got their logo, but that is the Wayne Gretzky LA Kings logo to you, friend. And last year they were third in the division, seventh in the conference, 99 points, and won exactly one game against the Oilers before being punted in the first round. 2 years ago, we kind of would have said LA was a team on the rise with great core star players, a great pipeline of young prospects. You know, remember Sean Durzi, Brant Clark, Jordan Spence? They have two of three of those guys, but after a disastrous trade with the Winnipeg Jets last year that saw Pierre-Luc Dubois join, signed for 8 years, and then promptly put up 23 less points than the year before, and then spent a good chunk of the final games on the fourth line.
I'm honestly surprised it was only a 23-point dip.
I know, he went from 63 to 40.
Okay.
Things haven't gone the way they wanted. Now, we're going to add to this, okay, guys? Very odd and very expensive signing of Joel Edmondson for 4 years.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And then we got a 3-year, $10.5 million deal for Warren Fogle. And
Per year?
And they traded a fourth-round pick in 2024 and a second-round pick in 2025 for Tanner Jeannot without any money retained. You have to ask the question, are the LA Kings getting Bergevin?
They are, like, listen, it's funny. They finished third in the division last year, and you described them as a team on the rise.
Well, 2 years ago I would have.
2 years ago. I do still think they're a team on the rise. I don't think they'll come close to third. They're a team on the rise, and they're also not as good.
Yeah, so they're on a rise. We thought they would be on the rise now. They might be on the rise later.
Yeah, our definition of what we think the Kings are, like this defense first, big, hulking. No, not even close. They're not built through goaltending. Their goaltenders are Darcy Kemper and Dave Rittich.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you forget Phoenix Copley? Because he just resigned.
How could I forget about North Pole? Phoenix Copley. How could I possibly?
You possibly could not.
And their decor, like Jordan Spence, Brant Clark, there's so much to be excited about there. But this year is this year, and it's coming up fast. And just because there's reason to believe that this team is going to have some good years ahead of them doesn't mean that those good years are here yet. This team has a lot of inexperience up front, back end, and they, in my opinion, don't have the goaltending to cover up those problems. You had Cam Talbot put on a performance that got him an appearance in the All-Star game. I don't think you're getting either of those from Kemper or Big Save Dave.
Well, Darcy Kemper is probably looking for a big turnaround. And Jesse, this is a conference. A division that includes Edmonton, Vancouver, and Vegas. A conference that includes Dallas, Colorado, Nashville, if they can score goals, and a 110-point Winnipeg Jet team that people forget about. You have to wonder, who does LA think they can actually win against? What are your thoughts on the LA Kings?
Yeah, Steve nailed exactly where I was going with this because last year their leading goal scorer was Trevor Moore. He had 31 goals.
Trevor Moore had 31 goals?
Yeah,
he's a really good player. Leafs are stupid.
Damn.
But if you're building your team around your leading scorer being Trevor Moore and 31 goals, it's not a recipe for success. And obviously they flamed out in the first round as they have done consistently. And like that's where I kind of lean on this. It's a team that hasn't had success recently. They relied heavily on Cam Talbot's 921 to get where they were last season. And Rob Blake has been general manager since the spring of 2017. And I have zero confidence that he can build a winning team. Since he's been general manager, the spring of 2017, they have never won a playoff series.
Oh,
They're just flat out, they haven't won anything.
what's that like?
I look at this team and I say, if this is another year where they're not able to get out of the first round, the general manager's job should be on the line. Rob Blake should no longer be GMing this team because he has had enough time to build a competent team. But I still think the floor of the Kings in a division where the bottom teams are, you can feast on them, the floor is pretty high. I still have them making the playoffs, probably a wild card team, because they do have competent pieces. They do have Kempe who can put up enough goals. Byfield might take another step. Maybe you get those extra goals from Byfield there. The back end's gonna be very young, but the thing they excelled at last year was team defense, which is good. But then they ended up firing Todd McClellan halfway through the year when they went through a giant losing streak. So we'll see how they play based on that spring performance. But the floor is good. I just think the ceiling is very low for this team.
I kind of agree there, and there's some somewhat exciting names, but they all need to literally have the best season of their lives. Like young guys, Artur Kaliev, brutal season last year.
He wants out.
Andy wants out. Alex Laferriere, he has to take a step. He's got to crack like 25 points or whatever it was he had last year. Alex Turcotte, top 10, I think even top 5 pick.
He was a top 5 pick. I think he was a 5th overall.
Hasn't been there. Akil Thomas was another guy who there was so much hope for him, and he could make this team. But
he's a 2018 draft pick. Can you believe that?
I can, because there's a guy we expected a lot out of. How come we haven't gotten a lot out of him? 2018 draft pick.
Right.
He's in that group. So with the Kings, there's a lot of youth, a lot of inexperience, and basically nothing but potential, which is good. It's not a bad place for your team to be. But this is no longer the team that every year you're like, all right, they're lining up the Edmonton Oilers from the beginning of the season onward, and they're going to build a team just to beat them.
Well, they might be lined.
Look anything like
they
that.
might be lined up with them against their will this year.
Yes, they might.
That's every season. Last 3 years, they've been eliminated by the Oilers in the first round.
Oilers win the President's Trophy. Kings get in the final wild card, and oh heavens, and that's going to be a tough 8 days.
Right
now, I the one thing you got to with a team like this, I think you got to look at the smaller positives, and I will say that they do have some awesome deals for the younger stars. Byfield, 5-year, $31.25 million deal.
That.
Jordan Spence, 2-year, $3 million contract.
Love that.
Somebody to keep an eye on, and I don't know if he's going to get time this year, but Ontario Reign standout Eric Portillo, 911 save percentage last year, and a 3-year, $2.35 million contract. Alex Turcotte, 3-year, $3.25 million. Not to be mistaken. And then Akil Thomas just signed a 2-year, $1.55 million deal. So they got these guys. If they have the seasons of their lives, these contracts are going to look amazing. And I want to ask you guys, Anze Kopitar has been the center of this team. He's been in the way Drew Doughty is the center of the offense. Anze Kopitar has been the beating heart of the LA Kings for a decade. If Quinton Byfield goes from 55 points to, let's say, 70, is he now officially the first LA Kings top centerman not named Anze Kopitar in over a decade?
Oh, man. I got to think that torch gets handed. Like, Kopitar's still so good and maybe even underrated at this point in his career. He's old. He's old, man. And Byfield is so good.
Right. And
that back half he had was ridiculous.
we don't know if Byfield's going to play center, though. Like, he excelled as a winger last season at times. So, who knows if they give him that task.
That could be a development over the season, right?
Right.
The sort of thing where he starts on the wing and ends up playing center by the middle of it. Like, he's such an exceptional player because he also fits into our conversation with the 2018, 19, and 20 drafts, where a lot of people had their development sort of a wrench thrown in there.
Now, what you can't hate are the top 4 on defense. Mikey Anderson, Drew Doughty, Vlad Gavrikov, who is going to be a free agent at the end of the year, Brant Clark, hotshot stud right defenseman.
Good stuff.
And then you've got Edmondson at a very high number, and Jordan Spence as well in there. Can LA defense this way to the top? Or at least to the 8th spot in the conference, because like I said, I don't think they're beating any of the teams I named earlier.
It's okay to overpay vets if it's to insulate youth. and the Kings are packed with it. So is the Edmondson deal good in a vacuum? No, it is reprehensible. But they have him there to insulate these kids, to show them the league, and also beat the shit out of guys.
Who try to
face.
take a run. Okay, so guys,
I think you're overstating a little how young this team is.
Nah, I don't think I am.
I think you are because you look at the players around them. Like it's Doughty is not young.
No, I know.
Dano's not young. Fiala's not young.
Burrows is
Moore's
not young. Gavrikov's not young. And like they're guys who are going to be putting up the goals and doing the scoring are all middle aged. They're late 20s. Fiala's late 20s.
Yes.
Dano is 31. Kempe is 28. Trevor Moore's 29. Warren Fogel's 28. 27-year-old Tanner Jeannot. Like I'm not running down a bunch of 24-year-olds.
Well, Jeannot. Like I just look at it.
Jeannot's
like,
27.
I just look at it. Yeah, but he's also just not that good. Like,
But I'm not saying it's not a roster. Like there are plenty of teams in this league who are chocked full of young players. I wouldn't classify the Kings as one of those.
But like I feel like you have to take load off of Doughty at some point. He's on the back nine. You have to take load off of Kopitar. He's on the back three. You know what I mean? And a lot of that's going to fall on the kids who all have to take a step this year. And it's just a difficult thing to do.
What about like Fiala? What about
Fiala's great.
What about Kempe?
You need lots, right?
Yeah.
Those two are good. All right. What
about Trevor Moore?
Good.
Okay. What about Warren Fogel? Like
Fogel that doesn't get me excited.
No.
Fogel's a 35, 40 point player. You know what I mean? Like Fiala, yes. Moore was their leading goal scorer last year and he scored over 30 goals, yes. Kempe is an all-star, yes. All those things completely valid. I'm just looking at what we have known the Kings to be in recent years, Doughty and Kopitar as the pillars, and those guys are real old. So like Byfield needs to take a significant step.
totally.
Dano still good, back half of prime though. You know, Brant Clark Clark's going to be taken over from Drew Doughty at some point in the not so distant future. Same with Jordan Spence or Jordan Spence. You know what I mean? So when I say they're young, like most teams who have aspirations of making noise in the playoffs, they only have like a couple of these guys, maybe three. The Kings are full of them, and that's a good thing. It just makes immediate success difficult, is all I'm saying. Like, this isn't meant to be a... I'll spoil it. I'm putting them in 5th in the division, and that's not meant to be a criticism of the team. I think they're in... I don't know about in good hands, because Rob Blake's record's been terrible, but like I think they're in good shape.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Now, just while you're on that track, the LA Kings, according to BetMGM, they had 99 points last year. The over-under is set at 96.5. Steve, since you gave us where you have them in the division, do you have them above or below 96.5?
I hate when they make the over-under really good. I'm like, oh, shoot, that's where I'd roughly have them.
Yeah.
I'll say under.
You're going to say under. Jesse Blake, where do you have the LA Kings finishing in the division?
I have them finishing 4th, and I'll hit the over.
Okay, 4th, and he's going to hit the over. Now, I'm going to say under because I gave the Kraken a little bit more of a boost than I think perhaps I probably thought. I'll still...
For those of you keeping track, I have the Kraken finishing above the Kings, which
Yeah.
I think is a wild pick.
I do think it's a wild pick. I think the LA Kings still finish 4th, and I do think they finish under 96.5 points. That is your LA Kings, supposed to be 10 minutes, but a little bit longer season preview.